Hi, my name is Liz and I'm a recently retired GP. This vigil is put on by the small group of healthcare workers that make up Liverpool branch of Health Workers for Palestine. An advocacy group speaking up for the human rights, in particular of the healthcare rights of Palestinians in Gaza and the West Bank. We thank members of Liverpool Friends of Palestine for joining us. If you work or have retired from working in any capacity in healthcare, please think about joining us. Our peers in Gaza and the West Bank have been targeted for over 12 months. They need our voice speaking up for them. They need our solidarity. We also need to keep speaking up to tell leaders around the world not to normalise attacks on health workers and healthcare infrastructure in times of conflict. On September 20th, the NGO Healthcare Workers Watch published a report naming the 585 health workers whose deaths have been verified. Another 420 deaths have been reported. Verification of these reports is ongoing. So, 1,015 reported health workers' deaths. That reported number of healthcare workers killed in Israel's assault on Gaza has exceeded the total number killed in all countries in conflict globally in any single year since 2016. Jack is a paramedic in our group, is going to say a few words now.
Paramedics are the first responders in any emergency situation in Gaza and the West Bank, if there are still functioning ambulances available in the area. Many of the paramedics are accompanied by volunteers. They put themselves in the line of fire to rescue others. In the 11 months following October the 7th, 61 paramedics were killed. Ambulances are clearly marked, and an attack on an ambulance breaches international law. It is a war crime. I encourage my ambulance service colleagues in the UK to stand with us and seek justice for our colleagues who have been killed.
I'm now going to hand you over to Oni. Omar is a GP, for him to read the speech he has prepared.
1 year ago, in November 2023, the healthcare workers for Palestine started vigils in many cities across the UK. Over 1 year, we raised our voices and talked about the crimes against humanity in Gaza. We are the voice of healthcare workers in Gaza and show solidarity with people who are suffering from the ongoing genocide. We did not imagine this would last for more than 1 year. The complicity in this genocide and arming of Israel by some governments, including the UK government, led to the prolongation of civilian suffering. The change in the UK government in July 2024 did not make a big difference, which is shameful, but we will keep putting pressure on our government. Israel attacked many hospitals in Gaza in violation of international law. It killed more than 1,000 healthcare workers in Gaza. We have heard eyewitness evidence of a systematic rape of Palestinian detainees, including medical staff. There was a video evidence of one horrifying attack was leaked to the media. IDF used Palestinian children as human shields in some military operations. Israel is starving people in Gaza, cutting aid, including medical aid. There's ethnic cleansing in northern Gaza. According to the UN, around 100,000 Palestinians have been expelled from this area in the last month. The IDF snipers shot civilians, including people carrying white flags and children. It bombed refugee camps and schools. It destroyed the infrastructure, mosques and churches in southern Lebanon. The UN peacekeeping forces in Lebanon were attacked. We will never forget the IDF killed 3 British people working with a charity organization by air strike. Israel is killing people deliberately without any respect for laws or even its allies. These are examples of what Israel did during the last year. Some Israeli soldiers are sharing videos on social media, and they are proud of what they are doing. They are proud of their crimes. Netanyahu and other war criminals of Israel must be stopped, and the international law must be respected, including the arrest warrant that was issued for Netanyahu and Gannett yesterday. Staying silent and watching these crimes without taking any action by some governments is shameful. On Monday this week, at least 17 Palestinians were killed when Israel military bombed a home near Kamal Adwan Hospital. The dead were members of the family of Dr. Hani Badran, one of the few remaining medical workers at Kamal Adnan. Video shows hospital director Dr. Abu Safiya, who lost his son to an Israeli airstrike last month, comforting Dr. Badran after delivering the news. The hospital has since come under fresh attacks by Israeli forces who shelled and fired on the building, including the office of Dr. Abu Safiya. Dr. Abu Safiya reports wounded patients are dying daily due to a severe lack of doctors and medical supplies. We will never stop talking about these crimes. We will never stop raising our voices in solidarity with our colleagues in Gaza and Lebanon. We will keep asking for ceasefire and justice for Palestinians. Thank you.
Thank you, Omar. We will now listen to a song. When we cry. On September the 20th, the second document was published by the NGO Healthcare Workers Watch, entitled Detained Health Workers. Zainab, a permanent member, Zainab, a pharmacist, is going to read a summary of that document.
As of September 20th, 2024, we documented 300 cases of unlawful detention of healthcare workers in Palestine by Israeli occupation forces since October the 7th, 2023. Also, 4 healthcare workers were killed in detention. 155 are currently in detention. 23 are missing. 118 have been released, including 3 detained twice before being released. Of the total detained, 264 were from Gaza Strip and 36 from the West Bank. Over 50 testimonies of torture were taken by Healthcare Workers Watch, video, voice or written. One of the healthcare workers killed in detention was Dr. Adnan Al-Bursh, an outstanding orthopedic surgeon, the most highly qualified surgeon in Gaza. He was a fellow of King's College London and head of Al-Shifa Hospital. When Al-Shifa Hospital was put out of action by bombing and an Israeli army evacuation order in November 2023, he moved to other hospitals to continue working. He was abducted on December the 19th, together with 4 other healthcare workers, when he was working at the attack Al-Auda Hospital. He was taken to detention centre without charge and without access to legal representation. He was then moved to Ofa prison. Eyewitness evidence from others abducted and since released reports that he was tortured at the prison, his injuries resulting in his death.
Recently, Sky News reported statements made by detainees who witnessed his last days. This is part of one of the statements. In mid-April 2024, Dr. Adnan Al-Bursh arrived at Section 23 of Ofa prison. The prison guards brought Dr. Al-Bursh into the section in a deplorable state. He had clearly been assaulted with injuries around his body. He was naked in the lowest part of his body. The prison guards threw him in the middle of the yard and left him there. He was unable to stand. One of the prisoners helped him and accompanied him to one of the rooms. A few minutes later, prisoners were heard screaming, declaring Dr. Al-Bursh dead.
Dr. Al-Bursh's family had requested release of his body for examination and burial. The Israeli government has refused. The government has not declared a cause of death. We'll have a time of quiet now as we listen to some music and remember those detained, including the Israeli hostages, those suffering abuse and torture, and the families of those who have died.
And we have to apologise that we're having a Bluetooth connection problem, so we're just going to have a moment of silence when we listen to, when we just think about people who have been detained, people who are in detention centres now at risk of mistreatment, and we think of the Israeli hostages again who are detained and are at risk of mistreatment. So we'll just have a moment's silence now.
You're 4 days a week, right?
每个城市都有。
Hearing all the whispers of children being killed there in Palestine? Strange things are happening. The news is biased too. Are you standing with the truth? Are you hearing all the lies? The media is silencing some things that we try. Strange things are happening. It's called a genocide. Are you standing for what's right? Are you hearing all the screams of children being killed there in Palestine? Strange things are happening. The news is biased too. Are you standing with the truth? Are you hearing all the lies? The media is silencing some things that we try. Strange things are happening. It's called a genocide. Are you standing for what's right? A United Nations rapporteur is a person appointed by the United Nations to investigate and report on a specific issue. South African Dr. Talaleng Mofokeng is the United Nations Special Rapporteur on the right to health in Gaza. Towards the end of October, she started to use the word medicide to describe the Israeli government's relentless, targeted attack on health workers and healthcare infrastructure in Gaza. So, homicide, the meditated killing or extermination of one person by another, medicide, the premeditated extermination of a healthcare system. The Special Rapporteur's statement included the following: all of us continue to bear witness to the very practice of medicine being under attack. She emphasised that the right to health had become unsustainable amid relentless violence by the Israeli army on behalf of the Israeli government. Dr. Helen McHugh is a former United Nations consultant who worked in the Middle East with refugees and displaced people groups. On October the 31st, an article of hers was published entitled Medicide, the Killing Fields of Gaza. At the start of the article, she wrote this: how much longer are the world's leaders going to stand by and watch children being shredded to bits? Doctors, nurses and other healthcare workers killed, arrested, detained and tortured. Hospitals destroyed and schools bombed. The environment destroyed. Humanitarian aid denied, and a genocide committed in Gaza. Do we have to remind our leaders again and again that this is real, not some dark dystopian fiction? This is Israel violating every United Nations humanitarian rule and rule of war in an ongoing apocalyptic genocide, and telling the world that they can do as they like. No rules apply here. The article continues. A commission of the United Nations Human Rights Council in a report on October the 10th found that Israel has implemented a deliberate policy to destroy Gaza's healthcare system. Myriam Francoise is a British-French journalist, filmmaker, documentary maker and writer. In an Instagram post this week, she said the following: what Israel has done is create the basis for the acceptance of the targeting of medical workers and of journalists. We can no longer, as an international community, hold any other government in the world accountable, because it will be simple for them to turn around, or any militia group, by the way, they can just turn around and say, what do you mean? We're actually targeting less journalists and health workers than you just allowed Israel to do with full backing. And so now we're seeing that being replicated again in Lebanon. Because we didn't stop it in Gaza, it's now being done again in Lebanon. What Israel has done is create the basis for the acceptance of the targeting of medical workers and journalists. So we, as a small group of healthcare workers and supporters, will continue to speak up. We need to be here because we need this solidarity with each other, because we are devastated by what is going on. You know, some days it's difficult to get out of bed because it's just so demoralising what is going on, the complicity of so-called moral Western governments and civilisations. So we're here as a small group, yes, to share with you what is going on, because it's important to keep talking about it, but we're also here to show solidarity with each other so we can keep going. And so if you are a healthcare worker, whatever capacity, if you work in administration in a hospital, if you work in a lab, if anywhere in anything to do with healthcare, if you work in general practice, if you work in the ambulance service, please, our peers, are working until they are exhausted in Gaza. They are seeing things every single day that they would hope they would never have seen once in their lifetimes. And if we as healthcare workers here cannot show them some solidarity, there is a high degree of sadness there. So thank you for watching. If you watched live or whether you're going to watch afterwards. And let's just hope that the International Criminal Court arrest warrant that has been put out for Benjamin Netanyahu and Yoav Gallant will be taken seriously. I do have to point out that the 3 people that were wanted by Hamas, 3 of the main leaders of Hamas, have already been served extrajudicially justice by Israel by already assassinating them. So thank you for listening, and we will be doing other vigils. Thank you.